Authentic here with a Week 2 replay cast from the Asteroid Belt Tournament, this time featuring Blues, DeathTacticus, Hexapus, and Gameslayer, so this should be a pretty good match. We are on Mars, we do have a power colony, and expansives, robots, scavengers, and nomads. What do we have as far as found locations? Look at all that silicon over there. We have iron on ice, but no scientists, so that's a little bit disappointing. We do, however, have a bunch of iron over here by ice. Here's all the carbon. All the carbon's over here. Next, a couple of water. Not a lot of aluminum, mostly in 2 patches, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if we have a nomad over here, and then another nomad maybe over here, near-ish to this water, but also we have the ice if you need it, an expansive over here, or maybe a robot by this geotherm, not surprising. Plenty of other places you can put down an expansive or a robot.
A nomadic HQ
Essentially,
has been found.
multiple nomads. Gameslayer is going to be the first nomad, but I found a little bit closer. Is going to go for the ice. I guess it's about the same distance. I can talk between these 2 aluminum patches. Blues is going to found the second, going to go for that scavenger spot right next to the water. Take a water pump. Water did start double, so that's going to be a nice boost for Blues. Gameslayer was able to buy up all their electronics thanks to crushing a bunch of aluminum and the silicon. And meanwhile, DeathTacticus and Hexapus are just going to wait. One of them is going to get an extra claim, and one of them is going to get a lot of money. We'll see which one's going to get which. Meanwhile, the Scavenger is already on HQ2, and Gameslayer is not very far behind. DeathTacticus decides to go for the cash instead of the extra claim. Picks out right here next to this geothermal, and then we have another expansive. Not too surprising, but this time in a little bit of a surprising location. Going straight on all of the water, selling down all the water. Hexapus that crushed and going into some water pumps. I suppose it isn't that far away from this high iron, and there are no nukes, so this should be able to make work. And Hexapus already is HQ2, so it has 6 claims to work with right now. Some of them from the beginning, plus the extra. It's going to take, what is Hexapus going to take? Everyone is on HQ2. Stealing in some of the aluminum. I'd like to see maybe some iron come out and maybe some steel. Steel is 72, so it's not too bad. DeathTacticus is flooding the market with steel right now, as Hexapus doesn't have any steel. Selling down that high steel thanks to Hexapus' upgrade, so making some nice money there. Blues, meanwhile, waiting to get to HQ2, has all the carbon he needs, just needs to make enough money to get some glass. Wait for that aluminum ship and moved into some farms. Start making money, that's a good choice. And Gameslayer, let's check out Gameslayer. Gameslayer over here doesn't really have any production. Almost has the upgrade, but needs to get 40 more K for the electronics, and is going to wait for power to come in to do that, as there's not enough aluminum. Or I stand corrected, had enough money. I was waiting for the aluminum to come in, not the electronics. Going to continue to go into power, and that's going to be frozen.
An expansive HQ has been upgraded.
First HQ3 Gameslayer, followed by the Tacticus. That's not a good sign for a scavenger friend. Blues over here, lagging behind just a little bit. What's that Tacticus going to move into? Moving into geotherm. Some water. There goes Blues, HQ3. Leaving Hexapus the lone player on HQ2. Hexapus still forgoing steel. Although it's still not too bad. Has a bunch of farms moving into some power while power is high, trying to get that debt under control, maybe make some money off of it. Hexapus still needs another 18k for the upgrade. Has 13k of it all. Has 13k, needs an additional 18k, so it's going to be a while before Hexapus gets that upgrade. While we're in the lull, this extra claim going for 18k, which seems a little bit cheap. I should mention that this is on the old patch, so there are some replay bugs like these UE pop-ups in the wrong place or not popping up at all that have been fixed on the current patch of the game. And then I am casting with the UE Plus mod, which gives some additional features. We do have some mutinies going around, while blue is going into all of the wind turbines, making positive cash off of it now, not paying off his no longer just paying off his debt. Now the good thing about these two wind turbines is they can easily be moved into something else. And at HQ4, you can link up these two and move them into something else and put a goon squad right here in the middle, although you don't have power surges, so that won't be super effective against defending against EMPs, but it is an option. Hexapus finally HQ3. Looks like Hexapus is planning on going into a pleasure dome. If I did notice Hexapus claim that spot. Good choice for Hexapus right there. We do have both Blues and Gameslayer upgrading at almost the same time. Gameslayer is going to move into some chemicals. Those chemicals are getting a little bit on the high side. A decent profit to be made there. No mine of Gameslayer being mutinied away. And let's see what Blues is going into. Blues going into some chemicals as well. Blues has access to the carbon and Gameslayer does not, so that's going to be a little bit of an issue. Yeah, I don't see Gameslayer with any carbon, and Blues says, I'm not having it, I'm just going to freeze your chemicals right now. You're not going to get any. And then Gameslayer says, well, neither will you. So no chemicals for anybody. DeathTacticus still in HQ3 as an expansive, a little bit behind as you would expect, needs another 40k to get through the upgrade. That's a lot. Most of it is in steel. Which means Hexapus also needs a lot of steel, 17k in steel. It needs 34, has 32, so 3k away from the upgrade if sold out of everything. Does have a couple of steel mills online himself.
Has been upgraded.
DeathTacticus made it to HQ4. Let's see what he decides to do his claims on. But first, the network virus. Should probably go for about 16k or so, maybe a little bit less. Let's just take a look at all of our players while we have this lull in the action. Blues over here, still in that power. Not making power money anymore, doesn't have enough life support on there, but is making good money off of that water. Gameslayer into... oh, Gameslayer does have some carbon. I must have missed that last time, so we'll be able to keep those chemicals, but Gameslayer getting hit with all the black market everywhere. Even though Gameslayer doesn't have the... well, it's Blues, the #1 player in terms of HQ levels and cash on hand, so hitting the #2 player, keeping them back, although DeathTacticus not too far behind, only 60k. Now, same amount of money as Gameslayer, so Blues might want to start looking at this expansive, with that expansive advantage.
And expansive
DeathTacticus is in a patent lab, so we'll see what starts researching with that patent lab. Where is the patent lab? By the colony? Not sure where the patent lab is. It is not yet been constructed. Oh, there it is, hiding as a solar panel with the goon squad. So we'll see if anybody notices it. Hexapus is HQ4, does have that pleasure dome. Pleasure dome's going to be making pretty good money. 327, moving into a second pleasure dome. But Hexapus still in the rear. Gameslayer in the lead in terms of HQ levels, but not necessarily cash on hand. Moving into some life support over at this HQ, and at this HQ hoping that things become unfrozen sometime soon. Does have that power up, that triangle of power, but that's more debt mitigation. It's probably not going to pay off enough, as there is a lot of power on the board still too. Well, let's check. Blues barely covering themselves in power. Hexapus barely negative power. DeathTacticus negative power. So I guess there isn't enough. Well, now DeathTacticus has enough power with that patent lab. Let's turn on the UE Plus patent lab icon so we can just keep track of what's being researched. As we switch between players, we do have a tile auction going on. This is a great pleasure dome spot. Hexapus wants it. How much is Hexapus going to pay for it? 24k to Blues, 28k to Hexapus. It's probably worth every penny. Hexapus going for triple Pleasure Domes, putting down a patent lab, going to try and get virtual reality Gameslayer with a patent lab of his own. Also under construction, Blues. HQ4 lagging behind Gameslayer for a little bit. Does have the upgrade whenever he wants it. 58, 61k. 48k of that is going to disappear with the upgrade, so Blue and Gameslayer roughly the same in terms of cash on hand once we account for that upgrade price that Blues will pay. Now Blues with a little bit less. DeathTacticus has a lot of money. That's probably what Blues is waiting for, making sure that DeathTacticus could not buy out Blues right when that happened. We do see 3 patents all being researched by live players, all different patents, so everyone will get the patent of their choice. I tell you this, HQ5, 3 claims, moving into the lucrative chemists market. Does have some carbon over here. No carbon stored up, but carbon's not that bad, so it should be okay. Gameslayer is continuing to be targeted by Blues. Gameslayer does have a slight lead in terms of cash on hand, but DeathTacticus definitely has the earning power in the late game as the expansive. Gameslayer is going to need to pick up a buy to stay relevant, and the same with Blues. Although Blues moving into a optimization center will help in that regard. So let's check and see what is Blues optimizing. Nothing yet. It's not done being constructed. DeathTacticus is going to lose the race into thinking machines. Let's take a look at Offworld prices. 31k, 28k launches, 21k, so it's starting to look good. Gameslayer right here. Unfortunately, we can't see what the price of Offworlds are. They are hidden behind the other UE thanks to this bug, but they're not cheap. These prices here means that it's going to be a significant investment to put an Offworld up, which is why Gameslayer does want thinking machines. Will win thinking machines, even with the slowdown strike, especially after DeathTacticus patent lab has been frozen. Not a lot of spies have been purchased. Where is this? The game wants more pleasure domes. We'll see if players want to put down pleasure domes. Anybody want to challenge Hexapus in the pleasure dome market? It looks like Hexapus has 4 pleasure domes thanks to this patent lab hidden as a pleasure dome, which nobody has spied out.
Sold. The pleasure dome is completed. I wonder what
okay, so Blues has one of the spies on Gameslayer. Hexapus has a spy on Blues. And nobody has a spy on DeathTacticus. Spies are still pretty low. Good DeathTacticus moving in an optimization center. Also 32 seconds. Hexapus stole Gameslayer's patent lab with a mutiny goon. Who took that? Blues took the patent lab. Unfortunately, Blues is not going to win the race. This means Hexapus, of all people, is going to win the race into thinking machines, despite Gameslayer looking like he had it locked up. But between that slowdown strike and the mutinies, we do get a complete turn of results. Hexapus will claim thinking machines, which will put Hexapus in a good place if he wants to build some Offworlds. The only problem is Hexapus right now doesn't have any steel production. And steel's getting a little bit high, so even with that expansive bonus, it's still going to cost a lot to put up that Offworld in terms of steel. But 34k launches probably take about 2.5 to 3 launches before an Offworld pays for itself. So the question is, can you keep it unnoticed with these goons before it's too late? Right now, Gameslayer and DeathTacticus are running neck and neck in terms of cash on hand. Gameslayer a little bit ahead of DeathTacticus, as Gameslayer has all of his stock secured and DeathTacticus still has the one unsecured. But DeathTacticus does have more optimizations and is moving into the first Offworld of the game despite not getting any thinking machines. We do have 2 optimizations in steel. We'll just have to see how much that
black market is open for business.
Offworld cost by looking at the drop in the price when it's completed in about 30 seconds. Hexapus with a ton of advanced buildings moving into carbon scrubbing, now trying to get nanotechnology. That's not going to happen. Gameslayer is ahead on the nanotechnology front unless his undefended patent land gets hit or a slowdown strike drops. DeathTacticus almost had this Offworld up, so let's see how much it actually cost them. About 100k to put that Offworld, so 3 launches before it pays for itself. Does anybody have it spied out? Nope, nobody has it spied out. Lucky for DeathTacticus. We haven't looked at Blues in a while. Let's see what Blues is. Blues is going for energy shortages with a hacker array and then optimizing life support. And has electronics optimization queued up too. Moving into some more wind turbines in anticipation of these power hacks. Hexapus is hacking water. Hexapus also high in the life support market, has thinking machines but hasn't thought of using it just yet. 100k Offworld though, not very cheap. Hexapus doesn't even have enough money to put a 100k Offworld up. Gameslayer's Offworld should cost a little bit less than 100k, but Gameslayer deciding to move into some glass at this point. Still has those optimization centers over here, and they are researching glass. Well, those optimization centers just came online, so no optimizations for Gameslayer just yet. Versus, we can check out everybody else's optimizations. Hexapus, a few optimizations here and there. DeathTacticus is going heavy into steel. Hexapus doesn't have any steel, and steel is still pretty high. And looks like DeathTacticus is leading the optimizations race, or Hexapus, depending on how you count them and which is more efficient. But a Gameslayer and DeathTacticus are our current leaders right now. DeathTacticus does have this hidden Offworld that nobody else knows about, but Hexapus did spend a lot of money to defend themselves, so once DeathTacticus defends himself, they'll have about the same amount of money. So it's actually a 3-way race between DeathTacticus, Hexapus, and Gameslayer in terms of cash on hand. DeathTacticus definitely has a long-term advantage as the expansive with those optimizations and the unnoticed Offworld. Although some slowdown strikes, maybe people noticed the Offworld. Nope. Nobody's noticed the Offworld. Gameslayer moving into his first Offworld. Nobody's with a spy, but you did see a weird transition perhaps, so one could guess where that Offworld is. It does have thinking machines though, and a goon, so a little bit hard to attack for Gameslayer. Gameslayer's in C debt and hasn't defended himself fully with his stock. Let's check out Blues. Blues still hacking power. Hasn't made money off the power yet, but is keeping that power high. That's definitely hurting players without any power. Gameslayer, negative 500 debt per second. Hexapus does have enough power from these 2 solar panels in combination with those wind turbines, and then of course DeathTacticus does have enough power with this superconductor geothermal borehole play right here. Hexapus is going to go straight into Gameslayer while Gameslayer's stock is cheap.
Optimization
undefended, and this is part of the problem with Gameslayer not defending any of his stock, just going straight into two offworld markets, going for the late game, but not defending himself
pirates are auctioning their services to the highest
to
bidder.
keep himself in the game until the late game. So that's a little bit of an issue right there for Gameslayer. Let's see if this pays off for Hexapus. DeathTacticus, 300k in the bank, although about a good 120k of that is going to evaporate once this offworld market finishes constructing. And right now, and yep, down from 320 to 220k. Still in a very good position. Hexapus also in a good position, buying in Gameslayer. If Hexapus can make this buy before DeathTacticus can, and we can see with 66% for DeathTacticus on the buy, Hexapus does have a little bit of the way to catch up.
Time to change our passwords. The engineers have advanced our production.
We'll see what happens there. Launching the right or wrong, it changes as the food price changes. Launch.
Launch affirmative. What a payout. The black market is open for business.
Let's take stock. Gameslayer almost dead if DeathTacticus decides to kill him. Gameslayer does have two offworlds, did pay down a bunch of debt, but right back in the sea after that bond tick. Blues sitting over here was hacking power, getting out of power, moving into some steel. Decided that that hacking thing wasn't working out as well as he would like, but lagging behind everybody in terms of money and late game money making potential. Does have a bunch of optimizations though, and those are mostly in the life support market. Gameslayer is going to counter buy into Hexapus, but it's a little bit too late. Hexapus is only 10% of the way from the line. Gameslayer fell into D debt. Meanwhile, DeathTacticus says, I'm going to buy Gameslayer stock while it's cheap. Hexapus stock while it's cheap, before Hexapus gets the buy on Gameslayer, which could happen anytime now. Hexapus is just going to wait for... What is Hexapus waiting for?
The black market is online.
We have an offworld under construction.
What a payout.
No, took DeathTacticus offworld. Gameslayer taken out of the game by Hexapus. Went for the late game, didn't defend his stock, and now going to pay for it. However, Hexapus does have a subsidiary which will start making him decent money, especially once these offworlds, if these offworlds keep on running. Unfortunately, they are now out in the open. I don't know if they've been popped by the holograms. Potentially. The Hexapus is running a little bit from behind, but does have... DeathTacticus does need an additional almost 20k, 200k to buy out Hexapus, but DeathTacticus has such a high start. DeathTacticus just got his second offworld back. So it's looking like DeathTacticus will win this race, especially with Blues helping. Not sure that Blues wanted to help there. But Blues doesn't really have a lot of good options, as Blues just been lagging behind in this game too long. Wasn't able to get fast enough. Probably got a little bit too cheeky, too cute with all of those power hacks. We'll have to see if it actually paid off at the end of the day. DeathTacticus 82% on Hexapus. Hexapus only 32% on DeathTacticus. Gameslayer finally starting to make money, but only 1000k per second. That's not going to be enough. It looks like DeathTacticus will take out Hexapus in a little bit once this second launch goes off. There has been another mutiny on DeathTacticus offworld. It's back in Hexapus' hands.
Successful offworld shipment.
But 3% of the way to the buy. DeathTacticus just needs this one offworld launch, 28 seconds until he takes over Hexapus. There's the buy, and DeathTacticus going to win this game, especially if he buys up all his stock. There's really no way that Blues is going to be able to finish this out. So let's put this on fast forward. we can see what continues to happen for the rest of this game.
Offworld shipment launched.
DeathTacticus does have 2 subs making over 2k per second. His stock is almost double Blues. Blues with the same amount of money, so no, this is not going to happen. We're going to put this on blazing. Just watch what happens to the conclusion of the game. We just see that DeathTacticus has too much money making potential. Although Blues, I didn't mean to pause that. Unpause. Oh, it was the end of the game. That's what I missed. Blues surrendered, realizing that he was not going to be able to beat DeathTacticus. DeathTacticus does take the win in a interesting late game plays from pretty much everybody. No early aggression. Just Gameslayer messing up, not defending himself for the late game, getting the offworlds up, getting the cheap offworlds, getting the thinking machines offworlds, but then allowing his stock to be bought up very easily by Hexapus. Hexapus going for the gamble of getting the first buy, but unfortunately DeathTacticus was just making too much money, and Gameslayer didn't make money fast enough for Hexapus. DeathTacticus also very smart, buying Hexapus stock before Hexapus got the buy on Gameslayer and increased his price by about $20 a share. That's one of those heads-up plays by one of the best players in Offworld Trading Company. Let's take a look at the charts and graphs, see if there's anything that I missed while watching live. Let's look at the balance sheet first. At the end of the day, business net revenue was about the same for DeathTacticus and Hexapus. We're at 532k entertainment revenue from all of those pleasure domes. Auto sold about the same, but was made no money in terms of resources purchased. Sold a lot more off-world and then got about the same in dividend revenue. Just curious where the major differences between Hexapus and DeathTacticus were, so we can scroll down and see about the same in food, way more in oxygen for DeathTacticus, the same in fuel, way more in steel for DeathTacticus, although he paid 800k steel, but that's still 200k more made up of steel than Hexapus did. A lot more in the chems, but then Hexapus winning in electronics. But I think at the end of the day, it was the buy into Hexapus' stock before Hexapus was able to seal the deal on Gameslayer that did get DeathTacticus the win. Hexapus had to spend too much money to buy DeathTacticus stock, but DeathTacticus got Hexapus stock while it was cheap. That's how he sealed the victory. Thanks for watching this replay cast. Everybody, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe, or leave a message in the comments. Feel Authentic signing out.